All right, so the first few videos in this section are going to be on arrays, and then we'll move to object literals. All right, so arrays are a special type of object in JavaScript. They're also a data structure, and they can store multiple values. So this is how an array is formatted. You can see we have a variable called ARR, and arrays are surrounded in brackets. So the values inside of an array are surrounded in brackets, and the values are called elements. Okay, so each one of these is an element in this array. Now, elements can be numbers, they can be strings, booleans, any data type. You can even have arrays within arrays. And when it comes to accessing the values or the elements within the arrays, we can use the index. So arrays are zero-based. Every language I've ever used, they're always zero-based, so they start at 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. All right, so I'll show you how you can access whatever element you want using the specified index. Okay, so let's jump into VS Code and start to just mess around with arrays. So I'll go ahead and create an array. I'm going to just call it, I'll call it numbers. And I'm going to set it to some brackets, and in here we'll just put some random numbers. Okay, and these, it doesn't have to be numbers. I'll create another one with a different type in a minute, but let's go ahead and console log out numbers, and we should see in the console our 5 values. Now you also see the index, and remember, arrays are zero-based, so the first one is always going to be at the 0 index. Now there is another way to create an array object. So this right here, what we just did, this is called an array literal. Okay, but we can also use the array constructor. Okay, just like we have like the date constructor we used a few videos back where we said new date, we can actually do this. We can say, I'll call this numbers to, actually let's do a string here. We'll call this fruits, and I'm going to set it to a new array. Okay, it has to be an uppercase A, so new array. And then in here, I can put whatever I want in my array. Let's say apple. So they're strings, so they do have to have quotes. We'll say grape and orange. So either of these are fine, right? I'll say fruit console log fruits, and you'll see we get the same type of thing. It's just an array with our strings. Now, you'll probably use and see this more, the array literal, more than the array constructor. It's just more concise, but you could use either. They both create an array object. Now, if we want to access a specific item, let me just create a variable up here to output, and we'll console log x. And then I just want to show you how to access a specific item by the index. So we'll say x equals, and let's say numbers, and we'll get the first one, so that's going to be the 0 index, and you'll see that's going to log 12. And I could use this in any expression if I wanted to do like numbers and then get the first one and then maybe add on to that numbers and get the one at the 3 index, and I get 41. I could also use them inside of a template literal. So if I put backticks in here and I'll say my favorite fruit is, and then I can access fruits, and then let's say I want to get the we'll say orange. That's going to be the 2 index because it's the third one. So it says my favorite fruit is, we'll say, is an orange. All right, now there is and by the way, you can have different types. I know these are all numbers, these are all strings, but I could do this, like I could say, we'll call this mixed, and I could set that to an array with a number, with a string, with a Boolean value, null. So you can put different types in here, just to show you that. Now there is a property on arrays called length, and you'll probably use that quite a bit because there's a lot of times where you need to know how many items are in the array. So let's set x equal to, we'll say numbers dot length. And if I save that, you'll see we get 5. If I were to add a new number onto this, then we get 6. Okay, so that's how we can get the length. Now, if you want to change a value, like let's say we want to change, let's use the fruits array. Let's say we want to change grape to, I don't know, pear. So we'll take the fruits, and we know that that's at the 2 position or 2 index, and then we can set that to whatever we want. Let's say pear, and then I want to log fruits, so I'll just set X to fruits. So if we save that and we take a look, you'll see that now pear is in the 2 index. So arrays they're inherently mutable. You can mutate them, you can change them. And also the length property is not read only. So we have 3 fruits, but I could say fruits.length, and I could say that that's going to be 2. And if I save, now you'll see fruits only has 2. So you can do that as well. But I'm going to comment that out. Now let's say I wanted to add on to the end. Now there's methods that we can use to do stuff like that, and I'm going to show you that in the next video. But we could, so if we wanted to add a fruit, we know that there's 3 in there, so it's the index 0, 1, 2. Of course, I could do like 3, a hard-coded 3, and I could set that to, I don't know, strawberry. And then if I log fruits, you'll see strawberries on the end, but you're not always going to know how many items are in the array. Also, that's always changing. So what you could do, aside from using a method, which I'll show you in the next video, what you could do is set the index to the length, right? So if I say fruits.length and then set that to, let's say, blueberry. If I save that, now blueberry will get added to the end. And the reason for that is the length is always going to be 1 more than the last, because this starts at 0. If we look at the length, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I wanted to add one onto the next, that would be 5, right? In fact, I could copy this down. I'm kind of running out of fruits here, but let's say peach. And now that will get added to the end. Okay, but more commonly, you're going to use a method. There's a method called push. I'm going to show you in the next video that does the same thing. All right, so yeah, I mean, that's kind of the basics of arrays, of creating them and getting the length and finding the values by index. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and we'll look at some methods.